In this video we are going to add some of the detail onto the head of the torch as part of our series of modelling a battery powered torch in Onshape. So if you haven't already done so, load up the torch project and go to the torch head part studio and we'll make a start. So the first sketch I'm going to do is going to be on the front work plane, but I want to work on the back of the front work plane. So if I turn it around so it's around the rear, right click and go new sketch and then press N, it tends to spin me around to the reverse. If it doesn't, you can use the arrow keys to spin it around, but actually if you're working on the front of the front work plane, it won't matter. We're actually going to be drawing up here so we can zoom into sort of the 12 o'clock position of our model. Right, first of all, we're going to convert this outside part of the model into a sketch entity. So we're going to use the convert tool, just left click on the edge of the model. You can see it's drawn a black line, and that's our starting point. Next we're going to use the line tool and we're going to create a construction line or a center line. Hover over the top, make sure that it's connecting to the line that we've just drawn. Come down a little bit, press escape so that you're not going to add to it, and then just a standard line from the end of that line up and over the circle that we've already drawn, and again press escape so we're not drawing any more. Dimension this, the construction line wants to be 0.5 millimeters tall, and then you might need to zoom in, and we're going to dimension an angle, so from the construction line to the angled line that we drew, and that wants to be 30 degrees. We're now going to mirror the line. So select the mirror tool, select the mirror line, which is going to be our construction line, select the line we want to mirror, and that's drawn that in. And then the final thing to do is to trim this down to the parts that we want. So we use the trim tool. We're going to get rid of the rest of the circle. I know it looked a bit odd there, but it's just because of the resolution of the screen. It has actually just left that curved bit there. Trim off the ends of our two lines, and we've got our shape. Remember, our center line doesn't count as part of the sort of the entities. So let's zoom out. So we've got a very tiny sketch over there, and if we sort of hold the right mouse button down and zoom round, we can see what we're going to do. So we're going to extrude, and we're going to remove material and make sure the direction is going in the right way. Now we could change the dimension on here, but 25 millimeters works, so we can just click the tick and we've got a little cutout. Now what we need is lots of those to form the grip. So we are now going to use the circle entity tool. So it's sometimes under the linear pattern tool, the circle pattern tool is the one we want, and it brings up this dialog box. Now it's not a part pattern, it's going to be a feature pattern, so change it to the feature pattern. Select our extrude 2 as the feature. For the axes of the pattern, we can just pick any curved surface on the inside, and for the number of instances, we don't want 4, we want 400. If I press enter, it'll hopefully update after a little while, and we can see we've got this lovely grooved pattern. So click the tick to say that we are happy with that. Next we're going to add another feature on here, which is partly to do with grip and partly to do with aesthetics, I think. So we're going to spin this round, and I'm just going to zoom into this edge. So I'm going to select that edge and right click and then left click on new sketch. Press N to view onto the work plane. I'm just going to zoom out initially. The first thing I'm going to do is to draw a circle. So I'm going to use the center point circle, start in the origin and just draw a circle out, and then I'm going to dimension that. And I'm going to dimension that to 109 millimeters. And then we're going to zoom in at the 12 o'clock position. You can see that that's just kind of at the same height as the depth of our teeth, if you like. And I'm going to use a center point rectangle. I'm going to come down just a little way and draw a center point rectangle, but I'm going to make sure that it touches our line that we've just drawn, our circle. And I'm then going to cut away the inside part, the straight part of that rectangle, so that it just leaves the curved part. going to dimension that so that it's 5mm wide. If you click on the work plane, it will try and dimension it to there. So click on that, make that 5mm, and I'm going to make that height 3mm. I'm now going to delete the rest of the circle, so click on either side of the circle, and that's the shape that we want. So I'm now going to come out and go to isometric so we can see it, and I'm going to click on the extrude tool, and I'm going to change that distance to 22mm, so it just comes out beyond there. And I'm going to add a draft angle, so I'm going to left click on draft. It's gone 3 degrees and you can see it's drafting outwards, so I want it to draft inwards, but I only want it to be 0.5 of a degree. And then I'm going to click on the tick to say that I'm happy with that. Now what I want to do is I want to pattern this feature so that it goes all the way around as well. So again, circular pattern tool. We're going to change from part pattern to feature pattern, and we're going to pick extrude 3. We can pick any curved surface for our axis, so let's go onto the axis and click a curved surface. Now you see it's coming up red, and that's because we need to go apply per instance, and now you'll see that they're drawing okay, but we want to change that so that we've got 24 instances. Again, take a little while for it to draw, but once it's updated we can click the tick and there's our part. The last thing we need to do now is to clean up this edge, which doesn't want to be quite as far out. So again, we're going to right click on the front plane, new sketch, press N to view on to the new sketch, use the center circle tool from the origin, draw out a circle, and we are going to dimension that to 106mm, 106. And then we're simply just going to do an extrude remove. So we're going to click on remove and change the direction so it goes in the right way, and the distance we want is 13mm. Hit enter, click the tick, and you can see that it's just cleaned up the inside here. Thanks for watching. In the next video we'll start working on the next part.